AutoMeter. So, with a VP44 and a Fass, if you do some research online from the professionals on the forums, actually, you can get this information straight from Fass too, I think. You're only gonna wanna run between, the sweet spot is between 12 and 15 PSI. I think it won't hurt it if it goes down to 8 on a long pull. So, but when it's idling, you wanna have that 12 to 15 PSI. So, I could have just got a 15 PSI gauge and it would have been half the price, but I really wanted a 30 just in case. I don't know how this is set up. It could be running like 17 PSI. In that case, I wouldn't worry about it. But in that case, I'd also be concerned because if I only have a 15 PSI gauge, I have no idea if it's running at 35 PSI. So what I did, I spent the extra money. This cost like over 300 Canadian dollars, which I think is ridiculous, but you gotta do it. This is also the electronic one, so the sensor goes screws right into the Fass, and then you run the wires up, the wires and the gauge up. So we'll do a quick unboxing and see what we got. Time! So I could have went with white or black. I think black's gonna match a little better. So you can see it's a 30 PSI. This is the actual sensor. I believe, I'm not sure if, I gotta figure out what size threading this is and what size threading that is. I think this is an adapter if this size will not work for you. Not totally sure, or this just has to go into that. We'll find out. But that, we ordered this as a 3/8, I believe. So I can do a 1/8 or a 3/8. So I don't know if this is a 1/8 and that's a 3/8. I don't know. We'll figure that part out when we go to install it. It's a single cab, so I'm hoping, I believe they give you 10 feet of wire. Could be 8, I'm not sure. Even 8 might be enough on a single cab truck, especially the Fass is right behind the cab. So we might have enough wiring, hopefully, and then we don't have to do stripping and stuff like that, because I hate electrical. So that's the wires you run. Beautiful. This, I guess, is a holster. We're holstering it. So I'm sure some of you by now are thinking, are you putting a pillar, pod, or something like that on? At the moment, I'm not worried about mounting it. I kind of needed to get this because I'm worried about hurting my injection pump, so I just quickly ordered this. So basically, we're gonna run this normal, just have it sit on the dash and just find out what we're working with fuel pressure. And then, like, I'm not really using the truck much right now anyway, so when I'm actually gonna be using the truck all the time and whatever, I'm gonna either get a pillar pod or just a single on the dash thing, or even I saw them, they make them for these trucks for in the air conditioned vent, but then I kind of lose the functionality of a vent. So we'll see. There's different options you can do on a truck. So this is the sensor and or sending unit. It came with an adapter. The adapter, from eyeing it up, looks like the right size to go into the front of the Fass, which is another area that this is supposed to work. However, I don't know if this size is the same, so we're taking a chance. I also don't know if fuel's just gonna continually run out of there, or it has to go through the pump first to come out. Not totally sure, so this might be a quick thing. There's a chance that this isn't the right size and I'll have to take this off and whatever, but we got it all ready, nyloned it up, so take it off, hopefully it goes on. So we have a hoist to make our lives easier, so we're gonna lift it up. So where we were planning to go, originally, I believe this top threading without the adapter is made to go up here, which there is enough room if we have to, but it's easier and actually a little nicer if we can go through this one, which this adapter looks to be about what that threading is going to be. So we'll try taking out that plug and sticking it in there. So we're just going to pull this plug out. I haven't looked into how these Fasses exactly work. I'm hoping that it has to go through the pump in order to be pushed through here. I'm hoping this isn't just going to be gravity fed and free flowing. Yeah. So I thought this was going to be tapered in a bit. I thought the outside of it was going to be a little bit bigger, but it appears it is not. So I didn't pull it out all the way. So I'm just going to tighten that back up because that's definitely too big. So we are going to have to go through that top where I was planning on going originally. So it is unfortunate we couldn't use that easy one to get at, but it's not much harder to get at the other one, except now I got the right tools, but not the right size. So I got to look for a size of a tool that we probably don't have. Yeah. So I just loosened it up. Ended up being a 3/16, what would this be called, a hex?
Yep.
Which, yeah, that's the size we ordered, is it not?
I think so.
I don't know. Well, it's not the threading size, so yeah, I also don't know if this is just gonna piss fuel. Oh, just a little glurp came out and it stopped. Okay, it's in. We're gonna need a wrench to tighten it up. Ooh, it smells like diesel. So, this is our wiring for the AutoMeter gauge. We figured it was at least a minimum of 2 foot short. So we added, I believe, 5 foot, just to be safe. Because I hate installing things and taking them back out. So we gave her 5 feet. Then we ran it through one of these looms. And we didn't film it because number one, wiring is really boring. And also the cameraman was the one doing lots of it, so we will now run this end through the firewall. This end plugs into the gauge, and then the rest will run down under to the Fass. So I'm gonna quick put this piece through, and with the wires, I have a whole bunch of wires going down that direction already. For like, it ends up going to like your transmission wiring and whatever wiring's down there, stuff for your T-case. So you just, well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna basically go straight down. I have a hole right underneath where my brake booster, whatever that thing's called, is. So I'm just basically gonna go straight down and then just zip tie along all those other wires till I'm about a foot away and then plug her. See it. So when you're running something like this, remember, stay away from moving parts and hot parts. So, exhaust and drive shafts. No. So what we did, obviously this is the harness, so you have to run a ground. So I just found a self-tap from someone who did some wiring before, and I just went off that. And then there's another wire you have to tap into an ignition power. And we found an ignition power for, I believe it's this. What do you call it? Intake heater, grid heater, what? Not grid heater, intake. I don't know words today. It's kind of late at night. So now we're gonna plug it in. Just plugged in. And when I turn ignition on, we could potentially find out if my fuel pressure is going all over the place. It's scary. Which it is. So it's jumping anywhere from about 15 to almost bounce up to 20 sometimes. So it's in the right range, but it's just not consistent.
That's not good.
Now, is it the same when we start it?
Fire it up, find out.
There's no, the fuse panel won't fall, will it? What's that?
Yeah, yeah.
So in the time, Chris just made sure my fuse panel's all apart, nothing's gonna rattle loose. But in that 1 minute, now it's sitting at around 20 and shooting up even higher. So we're gonna see if anything changes when we start it. Leveling out. There might be more air in it now that we put that thing in. Yeah, it's still the same. Okay. Is it supposed to go down or is it supposed to stay? Okay, well, I'll set that there for now. So now we know for sure. I'm happy on one point that I know we weren't running too low of fuel pressure, so likely we didn't hurt that injection pump. However, I also know that running high pressure too long can also hurt it. So I think our next step is number one, to look into ball and spring, because that could be what is that I heard that can be like, it can be extending and whatever. So we'll look into that. I honestly don't even know where that is located, so I'd have to look into that. Also, if that doesn't work, we're gonna try to bleed it from the fuel bowl up front. So Chris insisted that before we mess with the ball and spring, we first bleed it from, well, pretty much the furthest point. We're not quite at the VP, but that fuel bowl just before. It's a very short line that goes from that to the VP. So this is basically bleeding it from the front. It will make a mess. There's all the stuff around there, but I got it cracked open a bit, enough that I see liquid around, so it should be enough for fuel. Don't do it yet. And I'm gonna sit there and just, after a few seconds, I think all the air is out. Uh-oh. Okay. I can't tighten it. It's too much pressure, Chris. Yeah, now I can do it.
That doesn't help.
It did. Because as soon as you went off, I got it tight. But honestly, there's pressure in there, and it will not let me tighten it. So we're hoping this wasn't a mistake, but apparently people are saying, or they were saying already in the past, ball and spring, ball and spring. Someone said these Fass 95 gallon per hour have these really weak springs. I don't know what a weak spring is. This is a pretty, when someone said a weak spring and I saw this ain't very weak. This takes some force. So basically, we chopped it already, we didn't film it, but it had this flat side on there, like it was basically 4 loops. So we basically chopped 1 loop out of it. So it's 5 divided by 20. So we basically took 20% out of it for PSI. If this is exactly how that works, I'm not totally sure. Plus, hopefully now it fixed the surging, because we just figured out surging is not from priming or not. It comes back either way. So I'm gonna clean my hands, brake clean all this, and put it all back. So it is back on. It's very simple. It's literally the easiest hose to get at. It just comes off and there's just a ball and spring sitting right behind it. So it takes all of 2 minutes either way. We're gonna test it. Hopefully it fixed at least one of the 2 problems, if not both. Oh my goodness. It looks like it fixed all of our problems. It is now running about 16 PSI, maybe 15 and a bit. It's still surging a tiny bit. I'm gonna assume that's normal, because I don't think that's gonna wreck anything. Surging, okay, now, yeah, we'll try to start it. took us a month to figure out. Man, that's nice.
Is the gauge still working? It looks like it's not even working.
No, it smoothed out when it started. That is absolutely fantastic. I'm so happy, you have no idea. I'm so happy. None of you guys have any idea. I haven't been able to drive my truck in forever. Tomorrow we have church, which is about a half-hour trip for us. So we're gonna test the half-hour trip with the truck. If everything looks good, tuner time. Yes, it's not it's not permanent, it's temporary, because I haven't bought either whatever kind of holder I'm going for yet. I haven't bought yet. I mean, if we weren't on YouTube and everyone criticized everything I did, I'd probably keep that the way it is. But that's just me.